Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking into our latest Trade to Black podcast. Well, here it is. This is an episode we've been talking about for a number of weeks. Senator Rand Paul is about to come on with us to talk about the future of hemp and really the current language of the Farm Bill. I know it's been a hot topic. We've discussed this back and forth on both sides of the aisle, both in the cannabis and hemp industry for a lot of months. But now it's time to get some real answers and find out what's next, because there's a lot of talk surrounding this right now. So with that, let's welcome in Anthony Varrell, co-host here on a Wednesday afternoon. Good to see you. How are things?
Good. It's quite eventful. Glad to get this under our belt. Have an honest conversation with the senator about the future of hemp in America, and hopefully get some answers around the appropriations language as well as the farm bill.
Good point.
Hemp's quite a polarizing topic right now.
Agreed. So with that, let's welcome in Senator Rand Paul and get straight into the conversation. Good day, Senator. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Listen, let's begin. I know our audience, they follow both the cannabis and hemp industries very closely. Like on one side, you have the licensed cannabis operators who see some bad actors in hemp exploiting loopholes and undercutting regulated operators. Then you have hemp farmers who say these products are their livelihood. So everyone agrees there needs to be some form of regulation. But the fight in Washington, as we know, it's whether that means sensible oversight or an outright ban. So how do you make the case that hemp products can be regulated responsibly without eliminating them altogether? Because I know this is a big topic right now.
Well, what you have is people like Senator McConnell, Gavin Newsom, who are putting forth and showing all these things that look like candy that have very high doses of mostly Delta 8 THC. And so these products, most people in the hemp industry aren't making them, but some people must be making them. The complaint is that they're being sold to underage people with very high doses, much different than what the rest of the hemp industry is doing. And so they say, well, we want to control this. We don't want this to be sold to kids. So instead of having an age regulation or having some sensible regulation, they've written language that we think would kill the industry completely. The initial language was that the definition for hemp would not include quantifiable amounts of THC. Well, we're not sure exactly what that means, but when they say that the definition does not include quantifiable amounts, it sounds like it could be negligible, zero, nominal, and we worry that that would destroy the industry. If they change the definition for the plant, all the plants have been adapted and modulated to grow at the 0.3% level. All of that would have to change over time. So we think there needs to be slow down, put the brakes on things. Our best hope is that nothing happens in the next couple of weeks. We do know that the bill that passed in the Senate, I was able to block the language completely for now. The House language passed out of committee with language which we think would prohibit hemp and would end the hemp industry. That language will probably, they're going to conference committee. When there's a difference between the House and the Senate, it becomes a conference committee. And I've asked the leaders who will be on this conference committee, will they conference about the hemp issue, because the House never passed their agricultural bill? And they said yes, which is kind of extraordinary. So it's not that the House and the Senate are different. The House has no ag bill at all, but they're still going to conference on the Senate bill. So there still is some danger that the prohibitionist language will be in there.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of the players on this and tried to convince them to change the language. And we've at least had an audience and we've presented things. None of it's exactly to my liking, but it's less bad. And you hate to tell people what we're hoping for, but we're hoping for less bad right now. And we're trying everything we can do to stop it from being prohibited. I think that it's like anything else. People see a problem and they want to do something and they react in an emotional way, but they don't think through what their words will actually do. And, I've been told the hemp industry is a $25 billion industry.
Yeah.
I can't imagine people would be thoughtless and put a definition in there that would kill an entire industry without trying to say, hey, is there a way we could exclude these very potent hemp products and leave the vast majority of the traditional hemp products alone? That's still what I'm hoping for.
So, Senator, I think you're spot on when it comes to Senator McConnell, when it comes to Gavin Newsom. I mean, the argument that we're doing this to protect kids, for people in the industry on both sides, cannabis and hemp, that's a straw man argument. We're not targeting kids. No one's targeting kids. That's not really a reason to ban. However, the way that the hemp industry has functioned in the United States since the Farm Bill's inception in 2018, it's created I don't want to call it the Wild West, but it's created a lot of unregulated activity within it. When you look at the hemp industry right now, there are a lot of operators in Texas, there are a lot of operators in Kentucky, good farmers that are doing good business and have product that has integrity to it. However, with the definition of the Farm Bill and products such as THCA flower, synthetics, we've seen TCOs and illegal Chinese organizations sell product into the hemp industry due to lack of oversight and just due to the way that the industry has been able to just evolve freely on its own, with how you alluded to the Farm Bill just continually getting punted. Looking at it pragmatically, I mean, do you see more need for regulation and need for oversight as it relates to the industry as a whole and kind of bringing it under the umbrella of how the state-run cannabis industry is run currently, with regulations and seed to sale tracking and really just uniting the two?
I think when they initially wrote the language, the motive was good to legalize the hemp industry, but they wrote the regulations primarily on the plant, and they didn't realize that you can take
Yeah.
any percentage of THC from a plant and make it any percentage you want to make it. So
Mhm.
0.3% THC or Delta 9 THC in hemp can be distilled to 100% THC. It can be distilled into anything you want it to be. And
Mhm.
so really, we need to try to shift the regulation from the plant to the consumable. And I've been saying this forever. I don't want the farmers tested at all. I think it's a complete waste of time. They make farmers plow under their crop if they have one plant that exceeds the limit. So I'd be much more liberal with the farmer. In fact, what I would do, my reform bill does this. It says that you're a farmer growing hemp, get a certificate from the people who sell hemp seeds or whoever sells the plants. If someone comes and asks you from the government, are you growing hemp or are you growing marijuana? You show them your certificate. If there's a question, they could go to that place that sells the seeds and they can do some testing. And I think you would probably only have a few legitimate suppliers, probably of seeds and plants, and you really would do very little testing. Once you determined who the legitimate players were, there'd be no testing on plants. It's ineffective to test the plants anyway because the consumable can be anything you want it to be. And
Yeah.
so I think the testing, if we're going to have testing, needs to be on that. And then I think that it just needs to be something within reason that has limits. And I think ultimately, to put it in simple terms, you have cannabis that has more significant THC levels, and you have hemp products that would have a smaller amount of hemp of THC products in it. And so one would be a much milder thing, and it would be legal everywhere, and the other one would be legal in the states that have legalized it. It is complicated because we have different rules everywhere.
Correct.
I fear what happens if they ban low THC products, which is what hemp is. If you ban that, either everybody goes to cannabis or everybody goes into the illegal market.
Right.
You know, and I think if everybody goes into cannabis, then basically you develop illegal markets is what happens. It doesn't go away. People will switch, and there may be some argument that the smaller THC products might be something that is a better avenue, and a lot of people actually
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You know, some 60-year-old who wants to sleep better, probably, I can't speak for every 60-year-old, but they may want something that has a few milligrams of something in it to sleep better, and they don't want something so potent to have a good time on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So under your bill, or under the way that you see the hemp industry evolving into the future, I mean, do you see things such as THCA flower and such as these high potency synthetics being regulated out, and the hemp industry really just becoming a low dose THC product industry like it was intended for those, let's say, edibles, beverages, etc.? Because when you do get into the THCA flower, you are getting a legal product, whether it's coming from Mexico, whether it's coming from California, that is penetrating those channels. We've had investigative journalists and people actually go to hemp stores and hemp smoke shops from coast to coast, whether it was Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, and the product that they are saying that they're selling, which is THCA flower, by definition, with low dose THC, is actually not that product. It's high dose THC that is also not passing testing requirements with mycotoxins, pesticides, and it is creating a public safety issue under the guise of the hemp industry.
I think it's unknown what's going to happen yet. The main concern I have is that in the next 2 weeks, I don't want language to pass that completely eliminates the hemp industry. I think that's a big mistake. It's
Yep.
not fair. It's not right. And it will hurt some people just in the farming aspect. I've got a farming family in Northern Kentucky that does this, makes a good living doing it. They've invested a lot of time and energy in growing hemp, and I don't want to put them out of business. I've got
Right.
people who grow hemp not for consumables or edibles. I have people who grow hemp also just for wood, for hemp wood. And so the whole industry could be destroyed by this language saying that you can only have small quantifiable amounts and that the secretary is going to decide what these are. If the secretary of, I guess I don't know if it's FDA or agriculture, whoever it is, makes this determination and they're a prohibitionist, all of a sudden we have no more hemp industry.
Right.
So I think we have to be very careful. I think that if the logical way would be go from testing the plant to testing what has been being eaten. The best analogy I got was actually from another senator from a big corn farm state. And he said, well, it kind of makes sense. We don't regulate the corn for alcohol. We regulate the alcohol. We don't say how much ethanol can you get out of corn. We say, when you mix it up and distill it, you can make alcohol anything. So they actually make alcohol very potent, and then they sort of dilute alcohol to the level that people want to consume it at. And there are regulations on alcohol, but there's not really any regulations on turning corn into alcohol.
I could not agree with you. Could not agree with you more.
Do you have ongoing conversations with Senator McConnell? Because right now, when I see this on paper, two wrongs don't make a right. And it looks like the Farm Bill originally, when this was crafted together back in 2018, that there wasn't the proper due diligence that created this loophole. Now we could be on the verge of doing the same mistake over again. Like, are you surprised at all of his stance on this approach, considering the fact that he was, the major focal point of getting this Farm Bill passed 7 years ago?
We've been working diligently with his staff, my staff, his staff, with Andy Harris's staff, who's a big player in this in the House, and trying to reach a compromise. A lot of the conversations have been constructive. They say, at least on the surface, they're not trying to eliminate it. But I think we are some ways talking past each other. So they pile up all this candy that looks like Skittles, and it has names that look like Skittles and other candies that are out there. They're actually probably ripping off copyright and trademark. They probably could be sued for that alone. But then it has very high doses, much higher than, many of the hemp products might have 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams of Delta 8 in it. This might have a gummy that has 100 milligrams in a gummy, so it's like the package might have 500 milligrams, which, I'm not an expert in that, but talking to people sounds like that's a lot. And,
it is.
So I think that something has to happen, but it's a matter of people not reacting in an emotional way and eliminating an entire industry. I think if they would sit down and listen to people, I think we could get somewhere. But I still am very fearful that the whole industry could be made illegal within the next 2 weeks. So people who are interested in this need to be calling their senators and congressmen and saying, look, there's no reason to make something like this illegal. And can't we figure out a way to regulate it without prohibiting it?
Wow. So you think the next 2 weeks, that's a real possibility?
There's maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, but it could happen with the spending bill that's happening in the next week.
Okay.
But it also could happen in a conference committee report where it's coming together. And the same way people lobby me, I have to lobby those members. I won't be on the conference committee. I'm not on those spending committees that are making these decisions. So I spend a lot of my time lobbying them to try to make sure we don't make a mistake here. But if you follow legislation, the history of legislation is mistake after mistake.
Yeah.
People get in a rush. I would prefer that we do nothing for now and send this back to committee and study it for a year and not be too rash so we don't ruin the industry. There are some saying that maybe we say hemp products have to simulate what a 0.3% Delta 9 plant would have in it naturally, about that percent. If 0.3 is the limit, you can make any product that has that. You can't increase beyond that. Now, that might exclude some of the Delta 8 stuff, but would still allow, a 1 gram gummy would have 3 milligrams of Delta 9, and that would be a low dose Delta 9 product. And that would still be legal nationwide. And I think that's not the end of the world. I think many people would like a little bit higher than that. But there is some movement on people accepting we'll keep the plant at 0.3. And now we're going to talk about having the products also at 0.3, or what that would mean for any other level of THC, that it would have to be based on what the plant is. So you'd have, if there are other THCs, it would be what their percentage is in a 0.3 Delta 9 plant.
So your analogy on corn could not be more correct on the way that this industry needs to be regulated on a go forward basis. Don't do testing and don't really regulate at the plant level. Let's do testing and let's regulate on the product level, which is that Delta 9 THC molecule. The problem that we're seeing with the hemp industry and the cannabis industry living in harmony is right now the hemp industry sells that Delta 9 THC molecule, which is legal under the Farm Bill on a federal level. The state-run cannabis industry sells that same molecule, that Delta 9 THC molecule, on a state level and is a Schedule 1 narcotic currently, which is being revisited by the Trump administration to potentially reschedule to 3 and or deschedule on a go-forward basis. Do you see the need on a federal basis to give a broader look at this conversation and regulate the Delta 9 molecule and THC like we do alcohol with a 3-tier system and just let the market decide? Because it seems like we're at that inflection point. Hemp is legal nationwide, and we're not seeing society descend into madness. We're seeing some responsible operators. Granted, there is some cleanup that needs to happen, but you really do have a quagmire between these two industries that are selling the same thing. However, in the eyes of the federal government, they are seen very, very differently.
Yeah, and ultimately, this is a problem. You have marijuana still illegally, federally scheduled as a Schedule 1, which is, if anybody knows anything about the scheduling, it's an extraordinary obstacle to overcome being Schedule 1. Descheduling would help it. Rescheduling at 3 would help it. A lot of things could happen. Some of these things the president can do, on his own. It would be helpful. Ultimately, I think states have been tending towards being more permissive to let adults make their own decisions on these things. But I would say the pendulum's coming back, that a lot of the people are either seeing problems they don't like or coming back and saying, oh, we tried it. You had states that were very, very permissive, like Oregon, where pretty much you could use any kind of drug. And I think then even they saw and they thought it was too much, and their pendulum is swinging back a little bit there. So ultimately, the pendulum is going to get somewhere in the middle. But I think we just have to be aware as we're doing this, not to try to destroy people's livelihoods who put a lot of money and time into these businesses. And also, there needs to be some coexistence. The cannabis people don't like the hemp people. The hemp people don't like the cannabis people. Not always, but to a certain extent. And to a certain extent, it's competition. And then some of the cannabis people say, well, it's unfair. They get to, do this federally. We're not. And then some of it is bad actors who are making things that are really juiced up that, while they may not be killing people, are incapacitating people in a way that, people don't want to see their 15-year-old take 100 milligrams of Delta 8 and be incapacitated for 2 or 3 days. And while it may not kill them, I can't imagine it's good for your brain to have that much all at once. And so that's where it's coming from. The bad actors have led to this. And so we need to try to fix that problem. And that's what I've been trying to do, get them to isolate on the problem, but let's don't go so far that we get rid of the hemp industry.
Yeah. When you look at both cannabis and hemp, you've been involved in this industry for 10 plus years. Like, what's the conversation like in Washington? From what we see, this is the most feedback dialogue that we're experiencing in quite a number of years. And people are hopeful that we're going to see some change in regulation on both sides of the aisle. But if you could maybe describe what's in Washington, is this becoming louder and louder and part of a conversation? If so, does that translate into finally seeing change?
Well, the conversation is louder and louder, really coming from at home, from the states, and from people complaining about the abuses, basically. I think Gavin Newsom having his 15-year-old kid go out and buy $50 worth of stuff and showing all the stuff he could buy, that visual was a visual that incites people and gets people excited. Some of the people seeing probably some teenagers having some ill effects to these products is feeding this. And so really, if anything, I would say the pendulum has swung hard in the prohibitionist side. You have states like Texas that voted to prohibit it and then came back, was pulled back by Abbott at the last minute on this. So really what we have to do is, and I think the hemp industry is open to this, there has to be some kind of reasonable regulation everybody can agree to that doesn't eliminate the product. And it may mean some adaptation to what is actually being sold. But I think I know what the reasonable compromise is. Let's switch from testing the plant to testing what's being consumed. Let's get a small but reasonable amount of THC. It has to have probably some THC because, frankly, people are using all these products because probably the effect they're getting is from the THC.
That's
and
correct.
That's not all bad. If it relaxes you, calms you, allows you to have less anxiety and to sleep at night, I'd much rather be having people take a hemp product than OxyContin. So, I mean, we have to put this, you can still go to your doctor and get a prescription for narcotics. So, I mean, I think we need to put this in perspective and allow people to have as much choice as they can. I'm really mostly for the individual making these decisions. And the only reason I'm in the middle of the regulatory fight is that I think the pendulum's gone too far and they're going towards prohibition. And somebody's got to stand up and say, if you do this, you're going to cripple not only the farm part of this, but the consumable.
Hey, everyone, if you want to see the rest of our conversation with Senator Rand Paul, including his take on cannabis rescheduling and the future of safer banking, head on over right now to our membership wall to catch the interview now. Thanks again for watching.